it should be recording, and then let me just pull up the PowerPoint real quick and we'll get started. Why did it freeze? Ashley, can you help me with this real quick? Oh my God. Every time I go to pause my camera, it freezes. And oh, I didn't. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. I don't know why my computer's acting weird, but cool. Can everyone see my screen? Okay. And I should still be recording. Yes, okay. So, as you saw in my email, today we're going to be talking about sleep. I should probably introduce myself. Hello, my name's Ray. I'm a senior here at NAU. I'm a USATF certified coach, which is USA Track and Field, and also an intern coach for Hoka NAZ Elite, a professional running team here in Tucson, or in Flagstaff. I'm originally from Tucson, and I'm fascinated by running, fascinated by performance, and sleep is one of those components of that you can get significantly better at your sport by not really doing that much more training wise, because it allows you to absorb your training better and recover faster between workouts. And throughout my athletic career, I'd always see quotes from professional athletes talking about how if I don't get 11 to 12 hours per night, I wouldn't compete as well, or like Michael Phelps, eat, sleep, and swim, and that's all I do. And I'd always see this stuff, and it really didn't make sense to me. Like, yeah, sleep's important, but I never really understood why. But I would always ask my coaches, they would tell me the night before a competition, oh, make sure you're getting sleep. And then they would say this list of reasons, regulate your hormones, so your aging process, your immune system, and reduce cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And I didn't really ever understand what that meant. And then on the athletic performance side, I'd see reaction time, recovery, overall performance, and career longevity. But I thought I was sleeping well. I'd get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, and I was like, I think that's good. But it's not. If you're a college athlete or college age athlete training for triathlon or even studying really hard, current research indicates that if you're getting less than 8 hours of sleep, that you're 1.7 times more likely to get injured the next day than those who slept more than 8 hours. And this is the stuff I wish I would have known 3 or 4 years ago, because I definitely was not getting that amount of sleep and trying to train really hard, and then just not getting the progress. Another recent study showed that 24-year-old healthy men who had their sleep reduced to 5 hours had a 15% drop in testosterone, and just from their sleep, not from anything else. And especially for men, testosterone is a big indicator of performance. And if you're having that reduced, that's the equivalent of about aging 15 years older of a 15% drop. And then lastly, a 17% more likely to get sick if you get less than 7 hours of sleep. That sleep acts as a protective factor that when you train hard, you can train even harder if you're getting that sleep. So basically what I'm here to do today is help you guys kind of understand a little bit of the sleep science and give you guys tips to how to sleep better. And even if you're like, hey Ray, I'm a student, I'm working really hard in the classroom, sometimes I have to stay up late to study, like I understand that, but I'm also going to try to help you. Like if you're only getting 6 or 7 hours of sleep, make the most of those 6 and 7 hours, because I'd love to say that 10 hours of sleep is what you should get every night, but I know that's probably not practical. So like when I got to college, my goal was to compete for NAU's track team. So this is me freshman year, kind of scrawny little kid, but I was always like, I'm going to work as hard as I can on the track, in the classroom, and just do everything to the best of my ability. And it just didn't work. I had that kind of grind mentality, and I was overtraining, under recovering. I was struggling in school. That was the first time in my life I'd really like struggle with school. I went from in high school like getting A's and stuff to like getting C's in some of my chemistry classes. And then by the end of the outdoor track season, I was like extremely sick and extremely injured. But what I didn't realize what I was doing was just not sleeping. I would be in class all day long and then do my chemistry homework and start my workouts at like 11 p.m. because that was like the time I had or thought I had. And so like if you're doing workouts at 11 p.m. in the dark, it's not the best thing for your performance. And I didn't realize that at the time. I thought I was working so hard, but if I would have just kind of worked less hard, I would have improved. And so like I said, I was working out at like 11 p.m., finishing a lot of workouts at like midnight, and then waking up at 7 to get to class at 8 for the next day, and then competing on the weekend. And I was kind of missing this point of like from 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. is when your body's having peak human growth hormone production. So like in my case, I was working out at that time. But for a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm in bed, but you're like on your phone, or you're not like, or you just put down the laptop doing homework. But if you can like be asleep from 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. every night, you're going to have huge increases in your performance. This is like a chart of circadian rhythm. And like, if you look at it, there's like, oh, fastest reaction time at 3:30 p.m. I'm not saying to do like your agility and stuff at that time or best coordination at 2:30, but it's kind of a general trends of like temperatures, just something to keep in mind about like when you're doing your training. But I think the most important part of this is to make sure you're sleeping from midnight to 2 a.m. every night. Here's a chart of that, but I'm not going to get super in depth. I'll send out this PowerPoint on sleep cycles. You've probably taken like psychology classes or intro biology classes at some point in your life that address the stages of sleep. And if not, I'll have a YouTube video right here that explains it in about 2 minutes. But basically, the REM sleep, the rapid eye movement, is when dreaming happens. And it's also one of the most important parts of when your body is recovering and having repairing your muscle fibers. So if you don't understand that, just click on that video after this and that'll explain it. But what I care about today is kind of, because I know for a lot of athletes, they don't really care about like, oh, why they're doing stuff. Some people do, some that don't. But I've kind of, in this PowerPoint, kind of narrowed it down to everything I wish I would have known when I was a freshman in college about sleep and how that would have affected my athletic performance and also my academics. So like, I guess we'll just get into it, but the best thing you can be doing to help with your sleep is establish consistent routines. You've probably seen this on like every blog post ever, if you've ever like Googled sleep, but it's important even on the weekends to be getting consistent sleep. That if you're sleeping from like 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., try to do that most days of the week, if not all of them. And I know sometimes on the weekend, I want to stay up late, hang out with my friends, but it's kind of one of those gives and takes that if what you care about is your friendships and socializing more than like trying to train really hard, but it's different for each person. Like sometimes, yes, go out, have fun with your friends. Sometimes it might be better to get an extra couple hours of sleep, depending on if it's finals, right before race, something like that. One thing I found that works really well is to to study and do all my schoolwork as if it's a 9-to-5 job. That like I used to, partway through the day, I'd like get back from class and then just get on my phone and then just mindlessly like, oh, I just need to like decompress, detox from like the stressful day. But if I would have just actually worked, like, oh, done my homework after I got back from class, and then once 5 p.m. rolled around, I could have actually relaxed. It would have helped a lot. That you can actually like kind of earn your free time. This also helps that you're not like cramming and doing your homework right before that 11:59 deadline. Like I know probably everyone in the Zoom call has done that, like submitting at 11:40 and stressing yourself out. The second thing that kind of can help you is a bedtime routine. And this could be anything from like a 5-minute routine to like 2 hours, depending on what you want to do. It just kind of helps you relax, kind of turn your brain off. Some things I've found is like hot showers, soothing music, and foam rolling, stuff like that, laying your clothes out the next day. Whatever works for you, just have some sort of routine beyond just like, I'm going to brush my teeth, floss, and like go to bed. Like do those things for sure, but something beyond that. I like reading before bed. I think that's probably one of the best things, but for some people that doesn't work for them. One big thing I found is dimming the lights. That I'll like turn off the bright like overhead lights and just turn on like the ceiling fan or the Christmas lights you can see up there. It kind of sets the mood for bed. And also everyone talks about, oh, blue light, like I need to put my phone down before bed. But the interesting thing that I didn't know about with blue light was that not only does blue light come like from your cell phone, but blue light refers to just like the between 400 and 500 nanometers on the visible light spectrum. So like when you're in your bathroom brushing your teeth right before bed, you're just getting a bunch of blue light just dumping in your eyes. So like a lot of people put on like blue light glasses. The ones that really work well are like the ugliest ones. Like I have a link in the notes of this PowerPoint, but they're like the ones that like wrap around. Like the kind of trendy, cool looking ones don't actually work very well. Just something to keep in mind. But I would recommend blue light glasses. And then with that, once you're actually trying to go to sleep, you kind of need to create your sleep environment. So you've probably heard before, like, oh, I need my room dark, but like pitch black dark. Put up blackout curtains, put an eye mask on. I do both of those things. I put like gaffer's tape over LED lights or duct tape or whatever you have. Because I don't like the blue light thing blinking on the Wi-Fi adapter. Often like in dorms, it's like pretty loud at night, depending on where you live or apartment buildings. So like wearing earplugs, having like a white or brown noise machine, or even like the company Bose sells like sleep buds that are like, I think it only plays like relaxing sounds. Like it doesn't play music or anything. It's kind of neat, but probably not worth the $250. And then I think the most important thing of these three is make sure it's comfortable in there. If you have a cool temperature, the science indicates about 67 degrees is like an appropriate temperature to be sleeping at. Anything hotter than that, you're probably sweating and you're not going to fall asleep right away. And it takes longer to sleep. And with this, like I mentioned earlier, like taking a warm shower before bed, taking a warm shower once you step out, it helps drop your core temperature because your skin is cooling off in the cold air. So just something to keep in mind. But and if you don't know what white, pink, and brown noise are, I just put this up because I didn't know what this was until I started doing the research, but we won't spend too much time on that. You can look at it after, but one thing I found probably the most important is like making sure your bed is comfortable. Like have a nice mattress, have a nice pillow. Make sure you clean your sheets regularly. I know a lot of like college freshmen don't, like almost ever. It's really gross. Also don't eat in bed. Like I've definitely made the mistake of eating like a Nature Valley granola bar in bed and just get so many crumbs in there and it's disgusting and you have to wash all your sheets. An important note to mention is to like travel with a comfy pillow. I found this personally helpful when I was running track a lot is if you sleep on the same pillow that you sleep on every night versus like you get to like a mediocre hotel room and then the pillow is kind of bad and then you don't really sleep well. But like make sure to like keep it in like a case or like a bag or something to keep it clean. Like if you're on an airplane or driving a lot, like pillows can get kind of gross. But I was just gonna mention there's like the classic video, you've probably all seen it, of the commencement speech where I think he's a Navy SEAL, talks about making your bed every morning. I put the link, but I think making your bed and kind of taking responsibility for the space you live in is very big. But that guy explains it better than I do, so we'll skip that. But highly recommend watching that video. Making sure your bed is only for sleep is probably one of the biggest things, that you're not sitting in your bed on your laptop doing homework or like on your phone. Every person in this room is guilty of that. Like, oh, I get home from class, I'm gonna sit in bed. And that creates an association between your bed and not being asleep. So like often, I personally don't like doing homework even in the same room as where I sleep, but often like we're all college students, like it happens, like you kind of have to in a lot of cases, especially if you live in a dorm. But like especially the actual bed, that should be like your little sacred space. Don't do anything else in there. Some of the athletes I work with, they are very particular. Like the day before a workout, they won't even sleep in the same bed as their spouse because they're so kind of uptight about their sleep. And that's just something to think about. Like if you have like your boyfriend or girlfriend over the night before a workout, that might not be the best because they might disrupt you in your sleep. And like if you have pets, like I have a little kitten and she always kind of wakes me up like at 6 a.m. and I don't like that. Just something to keep in mind. But here are two things that I feel like most college students really love is caffeine and alcohol. So like it's kind of interesting though, like I didn't know this when I first got to college, but if you drink a cup of coffee, that the half-life of caffeine is about 5 to 7 hours. And what that means is like 5.5 hours later, 5.7 hours, half of that is still in your system. So if you have it at like noon or 2 p.m. right before that afternoon class because you're a little sleepy, it's still going to be messing with you when you try to go to sleep. And I think that's crazy. And alcohol is the same way. It's about a 5-hour half-life. So if you're going to drink alcohol, I'm a big proponent for day drinking. They'll like drink earlier in the day. And usually if you're having anything more than one drink, it's going to mess with your sleep. But also if you're having a drink every night, that's probably going to continue to mess with you. But that's here nor there. You make your own decisions. You're responsible for your own actions. But alcohol is like a whole nother conversation about like dehydration and inflammation, but we won't get into that. Sleep debt, I think, to move on, sleep debt is probably one of the most important things to think about in regards to performance. That the research shows that like if you're getting sleepy in the afternoon, that's an indicator of sleep debt. That in a recent study that they looked at 47 different food combinations as a way to explain why people get tired in the afternoon. That if they eat a bunch of carbs, I think they get tired afterward with the glucose levels dropping. And what they found was that it was consistent regardless of what you ate. That it was the only thing that they found was if you had sleep debt, you were going to be sleepy in the afternoon. So like I've fallen asleep in so many classes in the afternoon, like biology lectures, and I didn't know that meant that I should sleep more. In hindsight, I should have known that, but. And then another indicator is if you need caffeine to function, you probably have sleep debt. But luckily, there's a hypothetical ceiling of about 50 hours. So if you sleep for 10 hours a night for 3 to 5 weeks or so, you can pay that off and kind of reset. That's kind of a lot, but something to think about if you're trying to like race triathlon and stuff like that. Kind of one of the last things to talk about is wearables. Everyone's like seen the ads for Whoop or Oura rings. But basically none of them are actually very good. any sort of like wrist-based or finger-based monitor that claims to track like sleep cycles is not gonna, it doesn't actually work. The one in the center is called a Ready Band, and I think it's one of the better ones on the market, but it's still not great. In the past, I've like debated like, oh, I should buy a Whoop, but you really don't need to pay like several $100s for it to tell you that you need to sleep more. Like it's kind of simple to figure that out. Does anybody have any questions? No questions? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for showing up to the Zoom meeting. Are you all racing the what's it called, the Iceman this weekend?
I am. I'm racing it.
I'm racing.
That's very exciting. How do you all feel prepared for that so far?
Snow put a little bit of a bump in the training, but not too bad.
Got it.
It's
Is
just
this
a training race for me.
good? Is this like your first triathlon ever, or no?
Like my fifth.
Fifth? Okay, good. And is there anything like lacking in your training so far that you feel like you could improve upon or anything like that?
The sleep for sure.
Sleep. Okay. Was any of this helpful?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay,
For sure.
good. I was worried that like one person was going to show up, and so that there was 4 of you. It was nice, but in like working with Dr. Repka, he wants me to like keep kind of helping you all with just like anything like with nutrition, race day nutrition, recovery techniques, and like over the next month or so, really dial in like the running component of your races, because like for a lot of you, it seems like you don't run as much as I think you probably should. But I know it's a tricky balance with like cycling and swimming and all that, but we're gonna kind of focus on that over the next few months or so. Does anybody have any questions for me, or I won't keep you very long, but all right,
Thank
cool.
you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Happy to help.
Thank you.